And I discovered meditation in 2015
Okay.
in the form of TM, which is transcendental meditation. So
Okay.
they assign you a mantra to help distract your mind so that you can go deep within. And what I recognize in that is that the ego that everybody talks about is our defense mechanisms that the nervous system has created. And
Okay.
so when those defense mechanisms are activated, you're not able to be in your vulnerability. You're not able to be in your sensitivity. You're not able to be in your intuition. You're not able to be
Mm.
in the one self,
Mm-hmm.
the oneness
Mm-hmm.
that God, Allah, whatever name you call your higher source that we all share. We just name it in different
Right.
ways.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations, Audley Stephenson here, back with another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. Of course, our ongoing goal is to help empower our listeners, to inspire them to live their best audacious lives ever. I'm totally thrilled to have you with us, and I appreciate the fact that you've taken time out of your day to join us. Now, self-awareness is the edition, what we'll talk about in this edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. And when you think about self-awareness, it's kind of like being the captain of your own ship, navigating through the waters of life. Just as a skilled captain must be aware of the changing winds and the currents, self-awareness allows us to acknowledge our emotions and steer our lives towards authenticity and fulfillment. Now, Natalie Bedard is a healing practitioner with a passion for empowering individuals to navigate their emotional landscapes with grace and understanding. It's so important that we do that for ourselves. You know, NatNat, her nickname NatNat, has a wealth of experience in energy healing and trauma recovery. She brings a compassionate and knowledgeable approach to her work. Her expertise in energy healing and deep understanding of the nervous system make her the perfect guest for today's episode, which is focused around self-awareness and acknowledging our emotions. So get ready, folks. This is an absolutely wonderful chat that I'm certain that you'll all enjoy.
A lot in my body.
Wonderful. Yeah.
My teacher in meditation was like, usually people at a certain level break from your body. You want to chastise it, where it's like the healing is to love your body and, stay with it and come into it. And I discovered meditation in 2015
Okay.
in the form of TM, which is transcendental meditation.
Okay.
So they assign you a mantra to help distract your mind so that you can go deep within. And what I recognize in that is that the ego that everybody talks about is our defense mechanisms that the nervous system has created.
Okay.
And so when those defense mechanisms are activated, you're not able to be in your vulnerability. You're not able to be in your sensitivity. You're not able to be in your intuition. You're not
Mm.
able to be in the one
Mm-hmm.
self, the
Mm-hmm.
oneness that God, Allah, whatever name you call your higher source that we all share. We just name it in
Right.
different ways.
Yes.
And so that gave me a sitting better to understand. And I experienced a lot of trauma as a child going into, and then in my teens and my 20s, 30s. So I got to see I suppressed a lot of my emotions to be able to keep going through
Yeah.
survival. And
If
the
you
body
do that, then
after.
deal with it, right? Like, let's just pretend it's not there, put it in the closet, and we're good.
Exactly. And also, we're not given spaces to really feel our authentic emotions because other people say it's disturbing them too much. How many
Yeah.
times are people saying you're too emotional, you're too sensitive, you're too angry,
Right.
you're too.
Yep, yep, yep. Well, and it's almost like it's used against you, right? And as opposed to, well, why am I so emotional, or why am I so sensitive? And that's so, again, to your point, you're not allowed to authentically even explore what's going on with you because this thing's over your head and it's being almost beat over your head like it's a bad thing.
Exactly. And so I was able to somatically release a lot in my body.
Wonderful. Yeah.
My teacher in meditation was like, usually people at a certain level, they quit and they leave, and then they'll come back a few years later and want to do meditation. And I was like, I totally understand why they quit. all this stuff that's coming up in me, I don't even want to feel or deal with. Yet, because I had kind of death on my door and no diagnosis of what was causing the lesions, I had to go within. I had to go into this journey and surrender, because, healing requires a surrender and an acceptance of trusting yourself and trusting your body.
Yeah.
So, and facing the pain, and then seeing the suffering that you have created also by not allowing yourself to feel your authentic emotions,
Mm,
not the secondary emotions, your
right.
authentic emotions. And also recognize that that's not your identity. Your nervous system is not your identity. Yet when it's activated, that bad boy makes you feel like it's your identity, and it
It's
takes
all,
over
yeah.
your
It
behavior. And
dominates.
yes, exactly. So it gave me the meditation gave me space to be able to observe. And all through my life, I always had it, like from a young child, people would come to me and tell me things, and they're like, I don't know why I'm telling you this because I've never told anybody. So I just really had the gift of empathy and deep listening for people, that people didn't feel judged and felt safe to reveal their secrets. And so with the meditation, and I had twin boys that were 4 when I was hospitalized, learned meditation
Mm,
at 5.
mhm.
They told me with meditation, you have to create a quiet space and do that. I was like, with twin boys, no, that's not working.
Let's try that again.
So what I did was I took the meditation in the living room, and while they were watching TV and fighting, I would meditate and regulate my nervous system when it would want to go out and change things, stop things, analyze things. It was, okay, come back to your breath, come back. So really doing that regulation of seeing a lot of things that we interfere or interject or get roused up by, it has nothing to do with us, yet the nervous system's trying to protect us. So we don't know to come back into our body and not try and dominate and control the environment.
Right.
It's for us to be okay in the environment, which is warrior work. And once you
Well, that's
learn
uneasy
about
for a lot of people, to accept that, like, this boat is rocking and I'm okay with that, right? Like, people think that you're asking a lot.
exactly. And if anybody remembers, because we're North American, so a lot of Christian language is there.
Mhm,
And you understand when the disciples were in the ship with Jesus
mhm.
and there was a
Yep,
big storm and he's sleeping peaceful and everybody's like, what the heck
yep,
is going
yep,
on?
yep,
And he
yep.
gets up and he's like, okay, fine, I'll just turn it off. That's that nervous
Right,
system. Like, you don't
right,
know how to have faith. You don't know how
right,
to have trust, because
right.
everything is, excuse my language, shit show. And you're like, how am I going to navigate through all this
Yeah,
chaos?
yeah.
So that's what the nervous system does
Yeah.
inside.
I just think there's an aspect of really being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, that's
Yes.
what we're working towards, and really, when you think about it, that provides us for so many opportunities for growth and learning life lessons, and understanding that, in every episode I use this analogy of hills and valleys. I'm going to use it again, and listeners go, oddly, you heard that, but I'm going to use it again because it's applicable. Life is a continuum. It's a hills and valleys. The hills where it's great, the valleys where it's not so good. So as we're going along, is recognizing that we will have our ups and we'll have our downs, but it's not about staying in the downs. It's about getting back up to the ups. And so that down place where it does feel uncomfortable, where it's shaky, where we're not really enjoying it. It could be painful. There's also all sorts of things that could be happening down there, but that doesn't mean that's where we're intended to stay. That we can grow from that to get to the better place, if you will.
And also, I would also put another piece. You have a choice to see that the valley doesn't have to be dark and ugly,
Hmm, hmm.
that it also can have, flowers and rocks, and you can change your perception of
Yeah.
how you're going to view it.
Yep.
Because our mind wants to make meaning with everything, and not everything you can put meaning on.
Yeah.
It's to experience it and to experience yourself. And so when these dense energies where you're talking about the low, you're in the bottom parts of that nervous system.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's really difficult to come back out of that nervous system. So
Yes.
that's why it's really important to understand your biology, understand the fight or flight, fawn or freeze aspects of that nervous system, and really be able to have radical honesty with yourself.
Mm.
You see, what the simple parts that I do in the energy healing with people, simple does not mean easy. Simple means work. Okay. Where a lot
Yes.
of people, we've gotten that simple as, oh, it's okay. No, no, no. Simple
No, no.
means work.
We're
So it's safety in your nervous system, so that the nervous system is like, okay, I don't have to take control of the show. You're here. Yes. Radical honesty. You have to be able to see yourself. You're going to have to be able to be honest in a space where we usually don't even know how to be honest with ourselves. We're putting up masks to feel a sense of belonging and impressing other
yeah,
people.
right.
So you're not even able to know where you are on the map, because you can't move anywhere if you don't know where you are on the map. And then it's to feel. And the feeling part, we usually numb out because we don't want to feel the pain, especially in a Western society that is averse to all kinds of pain and just numb it. Even with grief, all of a sudden, when people are going through grief, give them some medication to numb it out. And I get that you need some to edge off the intensity of it.
Sure.
Yet, let's not make it seem like there's something wrong with grief
Right.
and that it's not a long process, because everybody, when they're going through grief, a lot of society is like, okay, you had 5 days, 2 weeks, a month. Oh my gosh. Now get over it and get back to the grind and the things. And it's like, my world has been destroyed and shattered.
Right.
And you want me to just be okay with all of this? And so it's creating these spaces to better understand what's going on in your inner world,
Right.
rather than being so concerned of the worldly world.
Yeah, and that is a challenge for a lot of people, right? Because the world is pulling, the world is saying this is what it must be, and this is how long it should take you to recover, or this is what this is what I did, and I'm okay now, and that's fantastic for you, and that's great, and I'm really happy that you got to the place you need to get to in the time that you did, but those aren't my timelines. I
Yeah.
need more, and so it's there's a real important recognition that what I know, what I require for myself, is where I'm going, right? Like you've got to know yourself and understand what you need. And yes, there's, I chuckle. They talk about, and I'm sure you've heard this, where they talk about how long it takes to form a habit, right? And in X number of days, okay, sure. I don't know where that number came from, and maybe there's a scientific explanation for it. I'm not questioning that. I just don't know if that's what it takes for me to drop this particular habit, pick up a new habit. Like we have to recognize ourselves as the individuals who we are, and we're not all the same. There's no cookie cutter model that'll work for everyone.
It's recognizing the way the world lures us outside of ourselves is making
Mhm.
us feel we're not good enough.
Ah,
So it's the donkey with the carrot. So I'm going to give you a prescription, and yes, some of it, if you do follow it, it usually has results. The missing part is, do you understand your nervous system? Do you understand your traumas? Do you
mhm.
understand your
Right,
triggers?
right.
Do you understand the undercurrents of why you do certain habits? Because what is missing is the nervous system is always trying to protect you. Even though you might take some actions that are harmful, it is always trying to protect you so that you don't have to deal with the pain,
Mhm.
until you start to acknowledge we can go through the pain together.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Self-care is a big part of your work, right? It's
Yes.
something you focus on. Is that where you immediately went to after you sort of transitioned through your own experiences, or did it take some more discovery to recognize the importance of self-care and why you should spread this message to others?
Well, almost dying and not being able to walk, or like the position of my eyes had shifted and I was cross-eyed and all that. So right there, when you're trying to get your body back,
Mm,
communicating, all the parts communicating,
mm,
you really learn self-care in a very important part.
yes.
And in the caring for self, because a lot of us have separated from self within ourselves, we're separated from the body. It was recognizing, am I actually acknowledging the energy that's inside me? When I'm around certain people, when I'm in certain environments, am I acknowledging what it has an impact on my neural energy, my physical energy?
Great
Or am
question.
I just shutting it down just to feel a sense of belonging with people?
That's a
And
great
I think a
question.
lot of listeners can relate to that, that just for the sake of the idea or belief system, we try to put our round peg in a square space and then
Bam.
wondering, why is it not fitting? And recognize that I cannot even let out an exhale. I
Right.
don't even know how to be able to relax. Everybody needs me. Everybody wants me. Everybody. And it's like, well, did you recognize you're part of that everybody? Did
Mm.
you put yourself in the others, that you are part of the others? If you would permit me, would you be willing to come into a guided meditation? It would be about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, so the listeners can see what I mean
Okay.
about self-care
Sure.
and the nervous.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Let's be audacious with it. Let's go.
All right. And for the listeners, I'm going to ask Audley to close his eyes, and I will be closing my eyes.
Mhm.
Yet, most of us, when we're listening to a podcast, we're driving. So please don't do that. It's
Good.
safety.
Good job. Good
I
job.
want you to be safe and everybody else to be safe.
Yes.
And the other points that I'm going to bring about the breath, if you are feeling too relaxed and you're requiring some alertness, please just skip over to the conversation because, again, it's safety. Yet, if you're able to follow the prompts, then you're able to start doing this in your everyday,
Mhm.
even when you're alert and being able to ground yourself in your breath. So, Audley, I'll ask you to get comfortable in your body,
Sure.
and you're going to gently close your eyes. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. Don't try to control your breath. Just be aware of the rhythm and watching your breath go in your nostrils, down into your lungs, and watching the process of the exhale. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up in the body. It's okay, let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop into your body. Keeping that awareness on your breath. There may be some thoughts or memories that are popping up, and that's fine. Don't push it away. Just bring your awareness back to your breath. Just keep your awareness watching the breath go in your nostrils and out, allowing yourself to feel the sensations, yet letting them pass through in your body. By now, you might start noticing maybe some tension or some knots. Just keep focused with your breath and allow yourself to just release. Staying with your breath, dropping deeper into your body. Now, while staying with your breath at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes and stay with your breath.
Yeah. It's when you talk about the distractions and just pushing, like not pushing away, but acknowledging them, but and letting them be. Um, that's exactly sort of how I felt. Like I felt, okay, there's thoughts come to mind, but you just sort of continue on and they dissipate on their own.
Mhm. So I'm changing the narrative of meditation because a lot of people think they need to shut off their mind and their thoughts.
Right. Right.
You're just being aware of the activation of the nervous system. It's a
Mhm.
very powerful sensory that's always looking for the problems.
Right.
It's out of negative bias. It's one function is don't die. So your physicality of always protecting senses, seeing alert, is there fire, is there
Right.
danger, temperature, but also psychological and emotional, because we've created identities about ourselves. And if we feel certain emotions or if we experience certain things, it feels like a death.
Mm,
So it's always looking at that. And as you saw, you can come into a space to not identify with those things.
that's right. That's right.
And so a lot of people, when they hear just breathe, it's like, don't tell me to breathe. I'm already doing that. The missing part is bring your awareness
Being
to your breath.
conscious. That's right. Bringing consciousness to your breath, and actually the visualization of it coming in and out. So even now as I'm speaking, I'm this very calm, relaxed state, and really is a wonderful place to be. It truly, truly is.
Yeah.
I think your when your consciousness is clear, your mind is clear. It allows, it's you sort of feel like ideas flow and thoughts flow clearer, um, and it almost feels like it could be a very productive place to be, actually.
Oh, very much so. We are always being distracted and we're not giving any attention to the nervous system. Yet once you start giving attention to the nervous system, then you can work together. The thing that has separated us is the infamous phrase of don't fear
Mm,
and have no fear,
mm,
where a healthy nervous system is going to give you some fear. If you want to get into your intuition, you're going to have some fear, because you know what? This little thing called curiosity is
yes,
going to bring you into the unknown and uncertainty. And that's where the possibilities are. It's not
yes,
what you know,
yes. What you don't
it's
know.
in the unknown. And unfortunately, a lot of us have been severed from our curiosity. So whenever curiosity wants to bring us beyond, it's like, no, no, no,
Yeah,
that's
don't
too
do that.
scary.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. But that's where all the possibilities lie in our curiosity. And when we maintain that curious state of being or mind, it eliminates all forms of judgment. It keeps your mind open, and there's just a wonderful sort of energy around being curious.
Yes. And to trust in yourself. In a
Hmm.
world, like I said, that everybody wants to tell you you're not good enough, you don't know what you're doing. I have the miracle cure for you. I have the formula, blah, blah, blah. Where is the mad scientist within yourself? Where is the fulfillment for yourself?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because I tell you something doesn't mean it's going to be fulfilling for you.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
You want to work with yourself, not against.
That's right.
And changing that comfort, the reason what we're looking for comfort is because we haven't been able to engage with fear and pain.
Right.
And so now it's okay. It's okay to have fear. It's acknowledging it. And all of a sudden, I give the visual of the Wizard of Oz. There was this big, loud voice, and it was so intimidating. Yet they were curious enough, where is this voice coming from?
Yes.
Rather than, we can't go around this voice.
Right.
And then once they acknowledged the voice, this little man came out, and it's like, oh, I can be seen. Yeah, you can. Okay. And that's what this fear, when you
Yes.
can start to see it, it's somatically going to release a lot of emotions that you've stored and
Yep.
pushed away.
Hmm.
And the fear and the cortisol, yet once you start regulating, there's an opening, there's a breath of fresh air, there's a sense of safety in your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet there's a journey and a process to go inwardly back home within yourself. And at times you're going to fumble.
Yep.
This isn't perfection.
No, no, no.
It's
Well,
messy.
I was gonna say this is a space where we show compassion to ourselves because it's
Yeah,
gonna be messy, because the journey's not gonna be unclear, and because of all that comes with a thing called life. Like we have to have that compassion for ourselves. I wanted
exactly.
Nat, if you can maybe just let's spend a minute talking about the significance of passion, compassion, and what it can do for ourselves.
Well, you see, compassion is grace for some people. They all
Yep.
know that language, that you're able to look at yourself without good or bad and without blame. It's looking at the experience and then taking the accountability and responsibility of, how do I want to show up,
Right.
despite what other people have done to me, and also looking at the things that you have done to other people.
Mm.
and might use a narrative of, well, you did this, so I just reacted and I just gave you what you gave me. Where it's like, well, if you want to be the bigger person, how are you going to show up? How are you going to be different and have the integrity for yourself? And that takes compassion, because when you look at what you've tolerated in life, when you look at how you've dimmed yourself, when you look at how you may have been angry and forceful with others, especially parents with their children, that's a whole other awakening when your children become adults and you can see some of the things that you did. You need
Right.
that compassion so you don't separate from yourself. You don't separate from your body, and you can feel the waves of that, those stings, those burns of having to feel those big emotions. Yet being able to have that balm to soothe yourself, not chastise,
Mm-hmm.
not belittle or berate yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
Have
yeah.
sensitive eyes of understanding. You didn't know, even though intellectually you think you may have known, it was not embodied, so you weren't able to access your behavior.
Right, right, right. And that's okay. Like I think as a part about like is recognizing that things will happen and we'll mess up, we'll drop the ball, we'll do all the things that we were told not to do, and that's okay because we always have that opportunity. So now that I'm equipped with the information that I've learned the lesson, right? So I'm equipped with the information to know better. I have the opportunity to do better tomorrow, right? and
Yes,
and so then do that, right?
and create that safety for yourself. Create that safety to be able to start acknowledging your emotions when you're activated and trigger, so that it isn't hijacking your behavior.
Yes, yes, yes,
Start analyzing the people that you're surrounding yourself around. Are they ones that activate the not good enough in you? Or are they the ones that are affirming that you can go and be better and to love yourself? That you are love, you are worthy.
and that's certainly one of the ways that we can create safety, right, with those around us. How else can we do that, Nat?
Well, I just showed the breathing exercise,
Mhm.
being able to go into nature. I know a lot of people, they may be in a city dwelling, so it's difficult. Be surrounded around plants, be surrounded around something that grows from the earth so that you're connected in that energetic field, that process. Another part, people say anger is so bad and that they don't want anger. And I'm like, befriend anger and give it an expression. So if you're feeling a lot of frustration and a lot of anger and pent up, anger is the bodyguard for our vulnerability, our sadness that we're feeling, or the fear. So what I encourage people is, if you can, yell in a pillow
Right.
or find a smash room where you can just start smashing things
Mm.
so that you can work with it rather than, again, it hijacking your behavior, so that you can give it some expression so you can hear the messages that are coming up, because emotions are messengers. They're trying to give you some information about
Yes,
something.
yes, yes.
And so being able to interact in that. Another thing that helps to down regulate the
Hmm.
anxiety and fear
Hmm.
is humming. So
Oh,
if you ever notice in slavery days, they would always be singing or humming.
okay.
And that's because our body, our vagus nerve starts at the top behind our throat. And when we hum, it sends a vibration of bringing calmness down into the body.
Mm.
So if you can just start humming to be able to regulate and feel those emotions, not in a way to want to separate, it's
Yep.
hum, hold the space of feeling, and then seeing where you are right now. Because
Right.
one thing I want to just back up, a lot of people are saying, I want to be in the now. I want to be in the now.
Hmm.
We are always in the now.
Yes,
You're just stuck in your head.
that's right. That's right.
And so when you come to your breath is always in the moment.
Correct.
And when you can follow it, that's why you felt a safety and a peace, because there's nothing that's harming you in the moment.
Correct.
But in our mind, when we go back up
Absolutely.
there,
Yep. There's
the
something around the
shoulda,
corner coming. There's something around the corner that's coming, right?
or I did something before and it's going to catch up with me, or
Yeah.
like all these different. So we're in our head.
Yes.
Whereas when you come back and you take your awareness on your breath, you're coming into your body, coming into the moment, and
Oh,
recognizing.
no, no, I love that point. I want to go back to the emotions, and you sort of give the analogy of being angry, for example. Like I've often said, emotions, like, process those emotions, kind of what you've alluded to. the piece that we can get ourselves in trouble is the actions that we align with those emotions, right? That's where that it's a hazardous zone. For those that like I've got a friend of mine who I always say, anger can't be the default emotion, right? Like you've got to process things and understand the situation, and not say that you can't react and be angry, but it's staying angry and then attaching actions to it is where it's a slippery
It
slope.
just loops.
Right.
It grows into a habit. It grows into a habit because, like I said, anger is the bodyguard,
Mm-hmm.
and you haven't been able to go in the undercurrents. What is activating that anger? What is underneath it? And when you're saying the processing, most people don't feel their anger. They just project it like a hot potato.
Right. Right.
Start yelling, start banging things, start, getting into physical fights with people because it wants to defend, rather than if we can take a pause and feel what is activated. Where am I? And that's why I say engage with your nervous system, because when anger is on, your nervous system's going to want to protect you and
Yes.
use the defense mechanisms. Yet,
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't been afforded a space to feel the anger and you've been given a label about it, you're looping in a space of, I'm trying to, but I don't know how to interact with this
Right.
because there's a belief system that's saying I shouldn't be feeling this way. Yet, I don't even know how to be honest about what I'm actually feeling, that somebody may be making me feel inferior or helpless. And anytime we feel helpless, anger is going to want to come protect, or we'll just freeze or fawn.
Right.
We'll, want to dim ourselves to be able to a sense of belonging. Yet the part of the anger that we are always, it's the violence. So that's why I'm like, okay, to go from 100 to 0, where people are like, oh, just process. It's like, I don't even know how to get to 80. Yeah. And
Right.
you're telling me
Right.
to get to 0.
Right.
So that's why I say to express it, yell in a pillow, so that you can let that energy out. I don't know where you are, if you're aware of smash rooms. So here we have smash rooms where you pay money to take a bat or a golf club and start breaking down already broken TVs, computers, glasses, plates. So that allows you to interact and process this anger.
Right.
Yet just releasing it is not the full process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's asking yourself some questions.
Mm-hmm.
What was I actually feeling?
Yes. Yes.
What started this whole process? And a lot of times, the scenario that you're in right now is activating something from your childhood. Yet
Mm.
it's going, if you don't have safety, you're not able to just jump and say, when I was a child, I was never allowed to feel my sensitivity. I was always shut down. Or maybe you were corporal punishment. People slapped you for being curious and you got angry with that because it's like, what did I do wrong? And all these different things that may have created this anger of protection of your sensitivity and vulnerability. So the process isn't just expressing, it's being able to, when you're in a calm state, start explaining what's going on internally for yourself so that you can find out these activations of triggers so that when the sensations start coming up, you understand the tools to be used. If all of a sudden you know that when I go see my brother or sister, and I get all riled up, you already understand that about yourself. So you may understand I can only do 10 minutes with them,
Sure.
and that's okay. But we want to overload our capacity, and in the image of what people tell us what family's supposed to be like, relationships, we're not being able to be considerate about ourselves. And then we get blamed for our behavior, that you should have been better.
Right.
But I'm telling you what I need, and
Yep.
it's not being acknowledged.
Right. Yep.
You have to give yourself permission.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do that work, and it can feel very uncomfortable because then you're going to have to see some attachments you've placed on people
Right. Yep.
and the mirror that they're showing back to you.
Mm-hmm. I can provide an excellent way to evaluate your relationships at that point. I mean, when what these individuals, what they truly represent to you, or who they are to you, and how they and gives you that chance to really. And I would talk about. I'm not saying he uses to cut off the people and that kind of stuff. Not at all. I'm just
No.
saying to understand what they represent in your lives and how they contribute to who you are, because we all contribute to each other in some ways, form, or fashion. And to understand what people are bringing to your world and to your psyche and to your thinking is important. And so I think there's an opportunity to evaluate that.
I want to make it clear.
Mhm.
In this society of cancel culture and just
Right.
sever ties, we as humans, we need each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, what disclaimer I'm going to put in, if you are being harmed psychologically or physically, you do need to create space
Yes.
so
Yes.
that you can be in your worth and have a better understanding of yourself, and not giving excuses for somebody else's behavior
That's
just to
right.
have a sense of connection.
That's right.
Give yourself space. Do not disconnect. And so you can better understand, am I processing? Because the cutting off, you're bypassing your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you are engaging to really, feel that. Yet out of sight, out of mind works really great with healing. Oh, I'm all better. Then 10 years later, the person shows up and you're like spiraling out, and you're like, where did this come from?
Right.
I've been okay. And it's like your nervous system's reading the stuff that you didn't allow yourself to process. We're feeling bodies that think. Your nervous system keeps a container of everything.
There you
And
go.
if you're not going to do an inventory and allow that purging and detoxing,
Mm-hmm.
it's still going to keep it there. It'll be dormant like a virus.
That's right.
Yet, whenever the right chemistry comes around, it gets activated again.
Yeah.
So the cutting off, be
Yeah.
very careful of your bypassing.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. I think that's a really, really good point. I think the piece around the cutting off is like for some it's just easier to cut off and ignore in that way and act like it's not there, as opposed to really looking at it, confronting it, understanding it, realizing that what it's making a contribution to who you are, your insider, and that allows you to understand what's happening to you, and maybe that can even that can lead you to realize some of the triggers or patterns in your own life. You have a better sense of that. So I think it's really important to face them head on, and go right at the source. So hey, Nats, this has been really good. I thank you for the time. This has been awesome. I really appreciate the certainly the meditation techniques and the breathing, and really the being mindful of our breathing and paying attention to that. And congratulations on your own journey. I should have said it at the top. I mean, getting through your own path, going on your own pathway to get to the place you are is remarkable, because now you're able to take your lessons, your learnings, and impact others in such a positive way. So congratulations for that. Thank you for being here on the Audacious Living podcast. For our listeners that want to learn more about you or connect with you, or you've got a podcast as well, right? Where can we send them?
So my website's called liftoneself.com. So that's LIFTONESELF.com. You can see what I have to offer on there. And there's even a 15-minute discovery call, because, not everybody you can work with.
Sure.
And I am in a part where I'm empowering you to make the decisions of what your healing is going to look like. I also have a podcast called Lift Oneself, and I'm found on all the social medias under Lift Oneself. So the branding is there with Lift Oneself. And I will also created for your listeners a 10-minute meditation. So
Oh,
there's a free meditation. So they just have to go to liftoneself.com/gift, GIFT. They'll opt in, and then they'll get a 10-minute meditation so that they can, even if it's just 1 minute, and you up it to 2 and
sure,
3, so
sure.
that you can understand what it is to regulate yourself and create space for yourself, which then we benefit from it. When
Yeah.
you take care of yourself, we benefit from
Uh,
it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Nat, I really appreciate you, taking space here. I really, we created the space, and you came in open arms, and I appreciate that. All the best, and take care.
Thank you. And please remember to be kind to yourself.
Back, we are here on the podcast. In our conversation with Natalie, we delved into the importance of embracing our emotions, understanding the role of our nervous system in processing them, and the power of self-care in fostering emotional well-being. Now, by acknowledging and honoring our feelings, we can cultivate a deeper connection with ourselves and pave the way for personal growth and healing. For those who are looking to connect with Natalie directly or explore her healing services further, you can can find her contact details in the show notes below. Additionally, listeners may discover special offers or products that Natalie provides to support their journey towards emotional wellness. Totally thank you for being here and tuning into the Audacious Living podcast. If you found value in today's episode, I can ask you to consider following, or sharing if you haven't already done so, because that helps us reach even more individuals on their own audacious journey. Now remember, your audacious life awaits. Seize it with courage and intention. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.